Angela Jones is a lifelong women's rights campaigner, a feminist and an old school lefty. She is founder and co-host of Turf Talks, a weekly YouTube program of gender critical news with an Australian focus. Ange was also one of the organisers of the Let Women Speak rally down in Melbourne. And despite her background in the trade unions and as a woman of the Jewish race, she has been vilified as a Nazi sympathiser. So I invite Ange to the lectern. Thank you.
Thank you. As been said, I was one of the organisers of the Melbourne leg of Kelly J. Keen's Let Women Speak tour, which gives everyday women an opportunity to speak about how gender ideology has impacted their lives. Our peaceful event was counter-protested, and women needed riot police and police on horseback to protect us from the hundreds of violent trans rights activists. As a consequence of being involved with that event, I was directly defamed by the Victorian Liberal opposition leader. A ludicrous claim was made that I'm associated with neo-Nazis, and that association was used to justify the expulsion of Moira Deeming from the Liberal Party. The proof consisted of one tweet, admittedly a sloppy one, taken completely out of context and with a vague inference that it was about transgender people, and that inference certainly didn't come from me. The premise for my defamation had already been set by the Victorian Premier, who described our event and its organisers as vile, bigoted and hateful, and said that we shared the views of white supremacists. Now, this could not be further from the truth, as anyone who was at the event or who watched our wonderful speakers on the live stream would know. We had women from culturally diverse backgrounds, many lesbians, gay men, even an internationally renowned feminist was at our event. To call us hateful and bigoted is an outright lie and gaslighting. It is absolutely shocking that the Premier and the mainstream media would misrepresent us in this way. Now, calling someone a Nazi isn't an innocuous act. In our culture, it's an incitement of violence and hatred. Within 24 hours of the event, my social media was under attack with hundreds of messages calling me the scum of the earth, threatening me and telling me to kill myself, including memes of Hitler with a gun to his head with "follow your leader" and "the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi," and they have gone on for months. The campaign to discredit me was led by people who knew the allegations were untrue. The one thing anti-fascist men hate more than fascists is strong women from their own side, asserting boundaries and saying no to them. I was being made an example of, so other left-wing women wouldn't be tempted to join me in publicly opposing gender ideology. It was surreal and distressing to see my name and image associated with neo-Nazis. My Austrian grandmother escaped the Nazis in 1938, and I was raised to stand up to authoritarianism. It was deeply offensive to me as a person of Jewish descent that the horrors that the Nazis inflicted on Jews was diluted by likening women defending their sex-based rights and child safeguarding to Nazis. It would be easy to get disheartened, but I remind myself that none of this is personal. Gender ideology is such a fragile concept that it cannot withstand the slightest scrutiny. The only way it can sustain itself is via no platforming dissenters or demonising them. Neither of those things are acceptable in a free democratic society. I believe if everyday Australians understood what trans rights really meant for women, they would stand beside us. Here's a short abridged list from a woman who used the pseudonym Gallus Mag that explains what trans rights actually means for women. It means removing the legal right of women to assemble without the presence of men, removing the right to organise politically against sex-based oppression, eliminating data collection of sex-based inequalities in areas where females are underrepresented, the removal of sex-based crime statistics, eliminating sports competition for women and girls, losing the right to keep men out of all female public toilets and change rooms, removal of grants, scholarships, board and trustee designations and affirmative programs to encourage women, the right for women to create reproductive clinics, domestic violence services, rape crisis or any other support groups specifically for women, eliminating media and public discourse specifically for females, removing the right for journalists to report accurately on the sex and the history of the subjects, eliminating the legal right of lesbians to congregate publicly and lesbian-specific organisation and advocacy groups, removal of the legal right for women to free speech related to sex roles and gender, elimination of the right for women and girls to resist state-enforced sex roles by controlling our appearance, our behaviour and our thoughts, and removal of the rights to have single-sex hospital wards and the right for disabled and dependent women to choose female carers for intimate care, and the removal of the legal right for female prisoners to be confined by the state separate from men. It's hard to believe that protesting the loss of rights that women fought for over centuries is now being considered hateful and bigoted. What is even more sinister is if we don't stand up now, proposed hate speech legislation will make things so much worse for women. The last few months has been surreal and stressful, but some amazing things have also happened. People saw how I and other women were treated and the violence we were being subjected to for simply stating facts, and they became so outraged they decided to join us. I've received hundreds of messages of support and offers of help. We are no longer just a bunch of TERFs, a silenced minority speaking into an echo chamber. We are a genuine bipartisan grassroots political movement, and we have done it without the vast amounts of money or media coverage, and in spite of our opposition's best efforts to silence us. I'm prepared to work with women across the aisle with conservative women to repeal sex self-ID and get women's rights and children's safeguarding back. When women turn up to crisis services, we don't ask them who they vote for. Our door is open to every woman in need. And I believe every woman needs sex-based rights, spaces, roles and sports. And every woman is needed in this fight. The bond that exists between women defies politics. Thank you.